Shalom everyone, and welcome to Smoking Truth TV. This is show number 17, and the title for today's show is Serendipitous. Before we get started, some of you may be wondering what on earth is serendipitous, and if I'm honest, I never heard of this word before until it came up during my research, and it simply means a random inspiring chat. I wanted to do something a little different today to compare to what I normally do. Instead of giving you a slideshow and talking you through it, I thought I would just sit here and type my thoughts out over a mug of coffee and see where it leads me. You see, when putting these videos together, I normally have an idea on what I'm going to be talking about and how I'm going to present what I'm showing to make it understandable. But this time, I'm just going to throw all caution to the wind and see where it takes me. Let me just take my face off screen. I'll leave this background on in case I need to write something on it a bit later. In fact, you could just put your device down and close your eyes if you wanted to, and just listen along to this broadcast as I begin to take you on another journey into my thoughts. I will just give you a few seconds until you're ready. Well, you can pause the video until you're comfortable, so there is that. But hey, I'm beginning to digress already, so let's make a start. While I let my fingers wander over the keyboard, it may be time to start telling you a few things about myself. You see, I'm not a part of the so-called truth movement, regardless of what some people may think. I mean, I wouldn't even say I'm in any kind of movement at all, because to me, this kind of term could be looked at as some kind of an occult. And I must admit, when watching some of these, now how can I put it, quote-unquote truthers, all I see is greed, demands, arguments, aggression, and most certainly, deception. I guess it's another reason why I don't engage much. This also contributes to me being rarely seen in the comments section on these types of videos. If you have seen me pop up here and there, it's normally always a spontaneous act, and my intentions, 90% of the time, is to let that content creator know that they're doing a great job. But who am I to say such things, and who am I to talk about the truth occult the way I am? Well, here comes the big kicker. I don't know who I am, but I am searching to know. The only conclusion I can tell you is that I am just some dude who has been searching for the truth around 6 to 7 years now, just like some of you guys that are listening to this message. Before I go getting all sidetracked, I would just like to say a big thank you to all the people that have been following me on my journey so far. I would also like to thank the new subscribers and anyone else who comes across this video in the future. I know I don't have hundreds or even thousands of followers like some other channels do, but to be honest, I don't advertise myself, I don't sell stuff, I don't take donations, I'm not involved in cryptocurrency, aka dead money in the grave, and to be honest, that's just how I like it. You see, I'm not in it for the money. To be honest, I never cared too much about money anyway. Even when I was sleeping, all I cared about was having the basics in life and having a good time. I guess you could say with all the understanding I've gained and so many studying hours I've put in recent years, I'm just a man made in the image of the creator who is searching for the truth. And if you have stumbled across my channel in the locked cupboard of YouTube, then I welcome you all, and I hope you enjoy riding the waves as we try and navigate through the winding rivers of lies that have seemed to have plagued our beautiful plane, realm, enclosed system, or however you want to try and describe our world. I guess the reason why I decided to make a YouTube channel in the first place was to be able to express myself and have someone to talk to. You see, you seem to lose a lot of friends and family when you start talking about things that go against people's paradigm, and people just don't want to talk about these types of topics. So even if it's just me watching on the playback, at least it's some way of reassurance that I'm trying to better myself. Plus, it helps me to grow and learn where I have gone wrong. And yes, I have made mistakes, as you have most probably noticed, but once we learn our mistakes, we can correct them and move forwards. Besides, isn't that part of the learning process anyway? I guess you could say I make content that I would like to see, quick, punchy and straight to the point, without all the babbling in between. And of course, I try my best to overload my videos with as much information as possible within a 30-minute time frame, and in doing so, I can hopefully point you in the right direction for you to do further research, so you can come to your own conclusions and find the truth for yourselves. And just like I always say, Don't just listen to me or anyone who is trying to tell you the truth. Instead, what I would say is, research everything for yourselves, because at the end of the day, it is only you that will be able to find the truth, and it is only you that will be able to find the path that you're looking for. Truth, hey? Truth can be one man's dream and another man's nightmare. Truth can lead you to dark places and to light places, but at the end of the day, truth will always be truth even if you don't agree with it, and truth will always stand solid, fixed and immovable. You could even say the truth is as steadfast as the earth. Well, unless you still haven't been unprogrammed yet and believe you're living on a spinning, wobbling space rock rotating at 66,600 miles an hour, while also believing you have evolved from rocks to then form into a fish that grew legs, then evolved into rats, and finally evolved into monkeys that eventually became the ape-type creatures of today that some people like to call humans. Sorry, but that kind of craziness just doesn't vibe with me. Anyway, let's get back on topic. Wow, there's a topic this time? Who knew? While I'm sitting here freestyling, it has occurred to me that some people may think, why don't you do live streams? And why don't you show more of who you are? And why? Well, one of the reasons is, where the Father has placed me, I have very bad internet. Sometimes, when just streaming a music video, I get nothing but a swirling disc in the middle of the screen, and uploading a 30-minute video can sometimes take up to 3 to 4 hours. So, less you'd want to org I this, then by all means I could do so, but that's no good to anybody. The second question that some may be thinking is, why don't you show your face in real time instead of just a still picture? I hear this question a lot about other content creators who do not show their face, and I hear and see comments left like, he's an informant, or he works for the CIA, he's a shill, or some craziness like that. Well, I can't speak for others, but to the reason why I don't is, I have a family, dude, and I know how the internet can wreck innocent lives. Besides, I made a promise that I wouldn't until that time is ready, and that time is not yet. As some of you may know, I'm more of a writer than a YouTuber. I have written 3 books over the last 5 years that I really should get round to editing so I can get them published. But if you have been following me for a while, then you would have noticed I pulled my videos of my first book off YouTube because I wasn't happy with the way I read them. I was all nervous and the music didn't fit very well, but I will get round to redoing them again and will post them up at some point, so make sure to keep your eyes open for that. Well, that's if you're interested in that kind of content, of course. I guess that leads me to the next question that may be on some people's minds. Why do I read from a script when doing these videos? To simply answer that question, I have to say nerves. I can't explain it really, but I will give it a shot. You know how some people put on that weird smile and act real awkward as soon as somebody points a camera at them? Well, that is me. The same can be said when recording a video. As soon as I hit the record button, I get all nervous and start stuttering and stumbling over my words. The amount of times I have recorded the same few lines is unreal. My lisp and missing teeth don't help much either, but the encouragement I get to keep going is when I remember the passage in scripture regarding Moses. I mean, he didn't want to speak and teach as he wasn't very good at speaking either, but did that stop him? I also have a lot of wildlife surrounding me, and the amount of times they have bombed my videos with their screeching and calling is also uncountable. Sometimes I have broken out into laughter while recording. I guess in hindsight I should have saved some of these recordings as they would have made good blooper videos. I watched a couple of my older videos the other week and I noticed a difference between them and my recent ones. I am starting to see a progress, but I'm still a long way off from what I hope to be. But hey, I'm noticing myself drift off here again on another tangent, so let's move on to something else. You know how the saying goes, even Yah can shine on a dog's behind in the darkest of days? Well, that was me. I was a dog walking in worldly sin. And what does the scriptures say about walking in sin? As a dog returns to his own vomit, a fool repeats his folly. Proverbs or Michelle 26:11. But here's a good part, because the scriptures also state that all mankind are sinners, and if he or she denies that fact, then they are a liar. We're also told that Yeshua didn't come to save the righteous, rather the sinners, because after all, are we not all sinners? and hallelujah for those scriptures being spared in the very edited, watered down Bibles that some people hold close to their heart. I mean, you don't really think that the many variations and versions of the so-called 66-book canon is all there is, do you? Interesting. Bi meaning two, and bull or bulls also meaning more than one, but I guess you get the point. It's also kinda hard to keep things in context when you have suspicions that there's well over 250 books nicely tucked up and hidden away in the Vatican Library that nobody wants to talk about. But that's okay, nothing to see here, just keep moving along and take your next pharmakia shot. The same could be said for the many names and titles that were given for the Creator in the Bible and the Scriptures, that are handed to us. For an example, God, Jehovah, Yahweh, Yahweh, Yehovah, the Most High, Elohim, Abba, Father, and not forgetting the tetragrammatification, YHVH or YHWH. I lean more to the Creator's name being Yahweh, and it stands out in the tetragrammatification of YHWH. When speaking in meditation or prayer, I use the term Father. The reason being is, well, because he is our Father, an Elohim spirit that some, including myself, would also call Yah. And again, you can see this when reading the tetragrammatification of YHWH. Besides, with the research I've done, the name Yahweh can be tracked back to an old serpent dragon, and just knowing that is reason enough for me not to use this name. Look, I know some of you may have got triggered when I mentioned the phrase an Elohim, but you may want to look up that word as it can mean plural, as in more than one. Anyway, what were we talking about again before I got sidetracked? Oh yeah, me being a dog before I managed to cleanse my pineal gland. Yup, I was a space-believing UFO fanatic with a lust for the world. In my late teens to early adulthood, I would say stupid things like, I'm living the Peter Pan dream. I will never grow up. All I was interested in was partying, getting drunk and sleeping around with girl after girl. And as you can imagine, following this route led me to getting engaged a bunch of times and also followed through with a marriage that ended in divorce. But who could blame them, as it seemed I was on a path to self-destruction. I was also taking a lot of drugs back then, so at weekends I would cram as much drugs and alcohol down me as I could get. Well, I wouldn't say many drugs, just the normal party things like amphetamines, ecstasy and MDMA. I also tried LSD and mushrooms once, but all the LSD did was freak me out, and the mushrooms just made me feel sick. I also used to smoke a lot of pot back then too, but luckily for me I stopped all the drugs and alcohol about 16 years ago when I was given the gift of a great spark of life. But that's not to say I haven't slipped up a couple of times, because about 11 years ago I also tried cocaine for the first time, but soon realised that it wasn't for me. Anyway, enough of my darkened past, let's keep moving. Another question that some of you may be thinking is, what do we call you? Smoking Truth TV is a bit of a mouthful when having a conversation, don't you think? Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I guess you could call me... call me Nada for now. And why did I choose that name? Mainly because my real name isn't me. Well, not anymore. I mean, how would you feel when you finally start to open yourself up to the truth in your late 30s and have your eyes set on looking for the truth, only to find out that you were named after some helly weird actor? Besides, Nada kind of fits my character, because the meaning of Nada is, you owe me nothing. Basically, what I'm trying to incorporate here is, this will always be a free channel for the people. The only way I will ever take money is, not from the pockets of the viewers that are watching my content, but instead, and it's a big but, if I ever reach high enough on the YouTube scorecard, then at some point in my journey I may turn the adverts on. But I will only do so if I'm in some kind of financial difficulty and it be the Father's will to do so. But let's get back to what I said about the Truther occult. Now there are many truth channels out there that hold some good fruit, and if I'm honest, I follow almost all of them. Well, as many as I have found, and I listen to as much information as possible. But the problem in doing this is, you need to use your discernment, because sometimes these channels talk about their content for 3 to 4 or even 5 hours, and the total time of good fruit you get is only around 30 minutes to an hour. The rest of the time is taken up with advertising, sponsors, promoting pay-per-view events, clothes stores, Patreon, crypto account, or just simply rabbiting on about other things that are irrelevant to the topic. Or even worse, getting irate with other people and using the weak words that we try not to use on this channel. I don't know about yourselves, but I always seem to roll my eyes when I hear the terms, "Please donate so I can keep this channel going," or "Pay for what you like or it goes away," "Make sure you become a member," "Sign here," "Sign there." I've even seen channels do this while showing you their big swimming pools, expensive cars and fancy houses. I don't mean to quote a certain content creator here, and there's no way I can pull it off as good as him, but I guess some people get too wrapped up in their own little world and forget that some of their viewers may be homeless or living week to week on a very tight budget due to the corrupt world we live in today. I mean, there are some people, including myself, who don't even have a bank account. However, amongst the pigeons in the coop of YouTube, there are some bright shining doves that are ready to help you set yourselves free from the cage. And it doesn't matter if these people agree with me or not, but there are doves in my eyes, and I believe that they have been ordained by the Father, because you can clearly see that from the content that they create. Now, I could mention the big guns like ODD TV or Bro Sanchez or even Witsit Gets It, as I learnt so much from these guys in my early days. As it happens, I have been following Austin Witsit from the very beginning of his career on YouTube. I believe I subscribed to him before he even released a video, as I heard him on the Globebusters show. I think he only had about 800 and something followers back then. The same could be said with ODD TV, but as I only started to wake up towards the end of 2017, he already had some great material out there, so I binged watched all the documentaries and music he had produced, but to where he is today is a mystery. Hey yo, ODD, if you ever stumble across this video, I hope all is well with you, brother. If you were to go looking, you would be amazed at the amount of many other channels out there that are just like these. But I do suggest you keep your discernment close to you. I mean, the apple may be good and fruitful, but you don't want to go eating the core and pips now, do you? So instead of talking about the larger channels, I thought I'd point you towards a few channels that are on YouTube that some of you may not know about. And as far as I can see, these channels appear to be hungry for the truth. I will put the names on screen so you can look them up if you wish to do so. If you're just after scripture readings, I would suggest heading over to Trevor Mishler. He has some great content and the chat is always friendly. In fact, as I type this, I notice he's currently reading from Jubilees chapter 5 from the F Sefer. Well, I say currently, it was posted 11 hours ago, but we're on totally different timelines and I'm rarely awake whenever he goes live. For scripture readings from the ISR scriptures, I would recommend a small channel run by a lady called Tirvana Yisrael. I found her voice easily listening and her pronunciations were really good. I watched her channel quite a lot when I first started to read my copy of the ISR. But of course, if you want more in-depth information on certain things, like the biblical calendar, then I would encourage you to seek out Nick Vanderlaan. He has dedicated so much time on this subject, and also the calendar is available for download. And of course, just like anyone who is a real truth seeker, the calendar is free and printable, and is available in different versions and also color-coded so it's easy to understand. Now you may have noticed that in nearly all my videos I call you all brothers and sisters. This is because it's my understanding that we're all created by the Father Creator, so therefore we're all brothers and sisters to our Father. And then there are people you get talking to online, you feel you have a deeper connection with them. That's when you come to realise they are not only a brother, but also a brother in truth and spirit. This next individual I'm about to talk about is all the above. He walks with faith, he is true to his spirit, he diligently searches for clarification and has great discernment. Not to mention, he has helped me more than he realises. And if you haven't subscribed to him yet, then where have you been? That's right, Jeremy, I'm talking about you, brother. I'm so thankful I stumbled across your channel. So if you haven't subscribed to Jeremy yet, his channel name is the Quadesh Homestead. He has some great videos on the biblical calendar amongst many other great topics, and this dude goes a lot deeper than some will go. Not only does he read from the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees, but he also gives you some great insights on the Third Testament as well, so it's definitely worth checking out this brother's channel. Another small channel I have found on my journey is Yeshua Said My Name. If you're into aliens are demons, then she has some great content, and she is always exposing the Vatican and the Freemasons. So if you're not familiar with her work, then I would suggest heading over to her channel and checking her out. But if you're just in the mood to strike it lucky and want to roll the dice, you can always go and chill out with the badass coffee drinking, Marlboro smoking, truth telling, flat smacking, guitar playing Snake Plissken, aka Lucky Haskins. And as he always says at the beginning of his videos, it's another beautiful day in God's country. This guy reminds me a lot of myself, and not to mention he wears sunglasses too. I can't tell you how many times I found myself laughing at his dialogue. A really funny dude with a passion for the truth. Another channel I enjoy watching is called Circle of the Earth Fellowship. They have recently started season 2 of their show, and the content that is being put out by this channel is fantastic. I definitely recommend watching their latest 4 videos, and there's always some good nuggets of truth in the chat feed. As you can probably tell, I could go on all day talking about these kinds of channels, just like I did when I released episode 1 of Smoking Truth TV, that I'm now calling The Lost Show, as I took it down about a month ago due to its poor quality. But hey, maybe that's a good title to use for a re-release in the future. As the saying goes, everything happens for a reason. And that last statement brings me to my next subject. If you have been keeping up with my community posts, then you would have noticed that I said I have some sad and tough times ahead of me that I will reveal in the next video. This isn't going to be easy for me to express. I mean, I'm even getting choked up just typing this, so I'm unsure on how I'm going to sound when reading it back. But here goes. For the last 6 months to a year, I've been asking the Father, where is the love? As I don't see it anywhere in my day-to-day life. I mean, some of you must understand what I mean when I say this, regarding how much things have ramped up in the world over the last 3 years. Well, it just so happens I was given the answer to that question a little under a week ago. Before I continue, I just want to warn you, this story is a little upsetting, so please bear with me. I won't go into too much detail, but I met my best friend around 9 years ago, and I knew from the very moment of meeting him we would be best buds. You see, my best friend is a little different to your average dude, because he is a bushy-tailed, snaggletooth Australian cattle dog cross miniature poodle named Jackson, or Captain Snaggletooth, or Flatjack, or sometimes Captain Jack Snaggletooth. Yup, this dog had many names. Some have even called him Basil Brush or even Squirrel Dog. I can't tell you the amount of times this little fella has shown me love. He's funny, smart, energetic, loyal, and even though he's small in size, he will stand his ground to any person or dog to protect his family. I remember one time while walking him, I stopped by a friend's house who had 4 Malamutes, and as I was standing at the person's gate engaging in conversation with him, his dogs were in the garden, and once Jackson spotted them, he started to scrab his back legs in the turf and puff his little chest out proud while giving the 4 Malamutes a few warning barks. My friend laughed at him and said, "My word, little fella, you've got some balls." This made it quite funny because Jackson was a rescue dog, therefore had been neutered before my wife received him. So I replied with, "Well, actually, he hasn't." Jackson has had many great adventures in his life. He loved going out on boats. He loved his long walks where he could run free in the countryside. I would always end up finding him either with his head down a rabbit hole or chasing while barking at crows. This was his specialty, running about to and fro, chasing them across fields or parks, but once the crow would settle in a tree, Jackson would sit down at the bottom of that tree, wagging his tail while making playful barking sounds at them. At the end of the day, Jackson was a bed dog, and when it was time for us to go to bed, there he would be in the centre of the bed giving us puppy dog eyes while wagging his tail side to side. This resulted in us making him up a little bed next to ours on the floor, where he could sleep until we were all rested until the next day of his adventure. Now I could go on and tell you more, but I have already decided to make a collage video with the many pictures we as a family have taken of him throughout his life. So to get to the whole point to this story, we noticed that Jackson had developed an injury of some kind, or at least what we thought was an injury. He had started limping on his back leg from time to time. This started around a year ago. When we first noticed it, we decided to take him to the vets and have him checked out. They'd done some x-rays and examined him and came to the conclusion he may have had arthritis in his knee. We were then subscribed some medication and pain relief for him, and we were told to monitor him over the next few weeks. Anyway, to cut a long story short, we went back and forth to the vets trying all sorts of medication. Some made him sick and ill, and one type of medication we tried even gave him Crohn's-like symptoms and made him bleed internally. Over the course of a year and many visits to the vets, they finally decided to give him another x-ray. This then showed that he needed what's called a cruciate ligament rebuild, and we were referred to see a specialist vets in the next town. We then took him along to his appointment, and me and my wife then had a meeting with the vet who was going to do the procedure. He said this was common for most dogs and assured us after the surgery Jackson, after 4 to 5 weeks, would be back to his normal self. The chap seemed really nice and we felt we could trust him with what he was telling us, so we decided to go ahead with the ligament rebuild. On the day of the appointment we dropped him off at 8:30 AM and was told, all being well, he would be able to come home the following day. After a few short hours after dropping him off, my wife's phone started to ring, but as she was outside in the garden, I picked it up and answered it, only to find it was the vets on the phone, and it wasn't very good news. It seemed that Jackson had developed an aggressive bone cancer that had eaten away most of his femur, and he only had a tiny piece of his kneecap left. This was devastating news and also shocking at the same time, because he showed no sign of weakness apart from his limp he had developed in his leg. Apart from this problem, he was still the same Jackson. The vet went into my choices and said because of his age being 14, amputation was not really an option. So the only option left was to put him to sleep now, or I could bring him home for a few days with some painkillers and medication, and spend the last few days saying goodbye to him. My wife wanted him to come home as we both wasn't prepared for this kind of outcome, and as you can probably guess, this resulted us to floods of tears. To be honest, there hasn't been a day past where I haven't cried knowing that we only have a few more days with him. But even through all of the sadness, there has been a positive outcome. As I said at the beginning of this piece, I had been asking the father for the last 6 months to a year, where is the love? And after receiving the news about Jackson, I have come to realise something, and that something is, the love is right here, right in front of our faces, and all we have to do is open our eyes and we will see it. Like I said, this all happened about a week ago. We still have the little fella with us, but I fear his time is short, so I'm just spending as much time with him as possible. He's still enthusiastic about his walks, but we have to take a buggy with us for when he gets tired. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. I mean, take from it what you will, but I believe there is a powerful message in there that shows the Father does work in mysterious ways. I also wanted to share this with you because you might see a dog video pop up on my channel and think that I'm selling out to YouTube or exploiting my pets, when in fact it would be just a video in memory of one of the greatest friend a man could ever have. Anyway, back to business. As some of you may know, I purchased the new Chromebook a while back that I still haven't got round to even powering up yet. I will get round to it soon. I guess the main reason I got it was to be able to make another YouTube account and make longer videos, as I fear one day this channel will be shut down by the no speech laws that YouTube likes to enforce. As soon as I've figured it out, I will put out a notification letting you all know. I'm still not sure on a channel name at the moment. I was thinking of calling it after my first book, Searching for Truth. I don't know, I'm sure it will come to me one day. Whatever happened to Windows 98 or XP, hey? But the one thing I can be sure on is, I will never stop researching. I have so much information and pages upon pages of research on different types of subjects that if I was to make a video every day for 3 years, I still wouldn't get through it all. Just to give you an example, here is my top 5 interests at the moment that I most probably will turn into videos at some point. Proving we have a spirit, does weight matter? Toroidal field, ether physics and electromagnetics. Part 4 of UFOs and Aliens, the Rendlesham 1980 incident, debunking the fiction, MK Culture, mind takeover, and what does the Vatican hold in their occult vaults. So as you can see, research-wise, I'm a busy man. I think it's probably best if I start to finish up here today, as I will most probably have to speed read this video, as I have a feeling I may have overstepped the 30-minute mark. But before I go, let me just ask you, what did you think of this type of video? Would you like more of this kind of content? If so, please hit the thumbs up button, and if you haven't already, please subscribe so you can be alerted on the next upload. I'm not like most channels, I don't do schedules, I only make videos and upload them when I have time to do so. Sorry about the volume issues in this video, hopefully things will get better once I get the Chromebook up and running. I guess that's what you get for using an old phone with limited storage. Anyway, time for me to get out of here. Like always, take care out there brothers and sisters, and I'll talk to you all again soon for some more Smoking Truth TV.